Seb Negri, class to have you, mate. You're in camp because it's the week of a big week because you're playing England. So thanks for joining me. Whereabouts are you? In London yet, or are you still in Italy waiting to come over for the big takeover?
We're still in Rome. Obviously recovering from France over the weekend. Had a good session today, but still in Rome and fly to London on Friday, I think.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's class to have you, especially when you're in camp. I know all eyes will be on the weekend, so we'll stick straight to Ruggers. Not that we've got a load of banter to get through anyway, but let's just go back over the weekend if we can. I thought you lads, like I said, your message, I thought you lads were brilliant. So there was a couple of things that I wanted to chat about, and one thing that we spoke about on the rugby pod. I don't know whether this is something that's been spoken about in camp. Let's start on that. When you've got a referee like Matt Carley, and we know he's a quality referee, but you know where I'm going with this, speaking English the whole game, people can obviously tell by your accent that there's a South African twinge to it, and there'll be a few other lads that can speak English in the team. France, I imagine there's a similar element to that within their team. Was that spoken about before the game, that he wouldn't be speaking in French or Italian? Did that have any kind of effect during the game? Were you unaware of it before?
No, not really, Jim. I didn't really think about it too much. Mitch, our captain, speaks good English, so I don't think there was a huge problem there. It's definitely something that we didn't talk about or don't ever speak about really, to be honest.
What about the game at the weekend then? So France, I kind of thought it would be tight. You've got history against them before. Is it as big as people think? Is that the kind of the biggest rivalry? And I know you're in the middle of the Six Nations, so we don't want to label other teams bigger or other games bigger than other ones. But how big is that game against France on the calendar for you Italian players?
Yeah, it's massive. Listen, the history goes back a wee bit, so was a big game for us, and we wanted to start the competition well. And obviously, we've talked a lot, past and present, especially since Kieran's come in, that we want to gain that respect and credibility back from people from the outside. And the only way we can do that is by performing on the field. And I thought, for large parts of that game, we were in the fight, and I think we put a lot of smiles on people's faces, and we showed why we belong in the Six Nations. And to be honest, straight after the game, it was a feeling of disappointment because, we felt we should have won the game.
On that, trying to not convince people, put a smile on people's faces, but I think there's an element of convincing people that Italy belong in the Six Nations. Right? I remember going through a long period of playing for Scotland where it was Scotland versus Italy for the wooden spoon, and it almost became a bit of a caricature, like a bit of a joke. You know what I mean? In and around that. As things have moved on, we've seen successes in Scotland. Wales have been one of the form teams. They're now kind of on the way down. England, France, always strong. Ireland, best team currently at the minute. How much as players did you feel that in the Italy camp when people are talking about, Italy needs to be gone now, it needs to be Georgia, or it just needs to go back to the Five Nations? Could you feel that within the camp?
Yeah, 100. I'd be lying if I said I didn't, Jim. It was always something that, was in the back of your mind. We're all humans. You go online or you go on social media and you see all these comments and people that have played the game for a long time saying that Italy shouldn't be in the Six Nations, etc., etc. But as much as it hurts to see that, the argument is there for a reason. We haven't been performing well. The results haven't gone our way. So you've got to take that on the chin. And that's why we've talked a lot recently, especially over the last 6 to 12 months, about getting that respect and credibility back and showing people why we do deserve to be in the competition. And if we perform like last year when we beat Wales, and then we go and back it up against Samoa and Australia in November, and then we put in another good performance against France, and we continue to do that and to go through the processes that we're going through, I think we're on the right track. So, yeah, for sure, as a player, it wasn't easy those times, but I think we're definitely in a good place now, and we're looking forward for sure.
What has been the shift then? Because you say about the respect and wanting to deliver performances. It's all well and good saying that. I'm sure when Sergio Parisse was captain and Castro Giovanni and all these greats of Italian rugby, the Bergamasco brothers, they would have been saying the same thing. But what has been the tangible shift? Because there definitely has been one, right?
Yeah, I think, well, definitely the way we're playing. We're playing a lot. We're not scared to sort of throw the ball around. We're playing with a lot more courage. And Jim, to be honest, the environment that Kieran's created here, sort of in the last 6 to 12 months, been awesome. We've got a good young team coming through, and I think, a lot of the young players that are in the team now are in good form. And that comes from Benetton also doing really well in the URC and picking up results. So a lot of those players are carrying that form through. And when you mix that with a bit of experience and guys that are also applying their trade overseas in France or the UK, if that all comes together, then, it's a good thing. So there's definitely been a bit of a shift in that. And then the mentality shift of, believing that we can do it. And that comes through winning. When you pick up a really important result against Wales last year, and then you back it up again in the autumn against Samoa, and then to do it against Australia when people wrote us off, only gives you confidence. So we're playing with a bit more confidence now. The environment, like I touched on, is a really good one to be in, and we all just wanting to be on the same page, and like I said earlier, get that respect and credibility back. That's been our main sort of goal over the last 6 to 12 months.
You mentioned Kieran Crowley there. I've seen a few bits of Kieran because we did a doc on Italy. We've done a couple actually over the years for Rugby Class, which has been class. His passion comes across right. Well, he's an All Black, so he's got great credentials coming through. Does he deliver stuff in Italian? Can he speak Italian, or is it all done straight Kiwi and people just be able to read through the fact that he stood there and done the haka many times? Like, how does he deliver? Because he does it in English, right? And I just wonder how that works with the Italian Latino spirit.
Yeah, he tries to speak a bit of Italian, but yeah, mainly in English. He's obviously got Marius Goosen, who's there to bounce off, and he speaks fluent, so that's always a good combination to have. But I think what Kieran does is that he shows his emotion when he talks, and that comes across really powerfully to the players. Obviously, the Italian players are very passionate, and I think Kieran also gets to the point. He doesn't sort of dance around any topics. He gets straight to the point, and at the end of the day, he's just a good man, Jim. When you're a professional, you want to. It's all good being a professional rugby player, but you want to be a good bloke and play for a person that you respect and that's a good guy. So that's what Kieran is. He's a great coach, but a really good man and someone you want to run through a brick wall for. So someone I have huge respect for, and I know the guys would echo exactly what I say. And that's a huge help in this environment too.
With making Michele Lamaro captain, brilliant decision. I know Michele, I've said his name right, isn't it? It's Michele.
Yeah.
That's how you say it in the Italian way. So Michele Lamaro. Michele. A great appointment. Love watching him play. He had a long time out with injury, right? And you're thinking, who is this lad coming through? Didn't know much about him. Spoke to Paul Gustard, obviously, who was involved with Benetton Treviso, you lads for a bit, and he was like, this lad's proper. Like, as in proper lad, had a long time out with injury. For me, he just kind of gets better and better. But he stands there singing the anthem like the years gone by, like your Sergio Parisses and Castros. The iconic images of the anthems. What's he like as a lad, as a player, as a young leader? Because he'll be leaning on someone like you, right, with all the experience and years you've had playing for Italy.
For sure. I think that's obviously an important role for people like myself, for Tommy Allen, the guys that have a little bit more experience, that, we can be there for him. But yeah, he's been an amazing leader, speaks with a lot of passion and leads through example. So a guy that that people follow. I remember watching him, and when he was coming through the Benetton system as a youngster, he was always going to be a special talent. The way that he sort of got over ball and his work rate and tackle technique and all those little things. You could see that he was going to be someone special, and he's backed it up, and he's come through a lot of injuries and things like that. But he's been awesome, and a really good guy off the field. Wears his heart on his sleeve, and like I said, leads through example. And his pre-game chats and things. You can see how passionate he is, and it's very easy to follow that. And yeah, he's got to perform well too. I think when you're in a position, when you're captaining a side, you got to lead by example, and he does that, and he's been doing that through his performances. So he's in a good place now, and a good guy to have as our captain.
Didn't he grow up just around the corner from the stadium?
Yeah,
there's this like gladiatorial story about him something.
Yeah, he's from Rome. He's just from up the road. So
I love that. Imagine that he's from Rome. The Italian captain from Rome. It just sounds so cool, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, he is a gladiator, and definitely leads through example. And I think it's obviously very special for him. It's emotional for him whenever he plays for Italy, and plays in Rome here. So a really good guy.
Is there any external influences on the team? Has there been a change in that? So you've got Kieran Crowley comes in, mentioned All Blacks credentials. Maris Goosen, who I've spent a bit of time with, lovely bloke as well. Yeah. Has there been any other external influences from football or from any other sports, or away from the emotional side? Because I'm going to go back to this as well. It's because I played the game similarly, and I mentioned the relationship between Scotland and Italy, and it was all out emotion. Whoever had that emotion went on to win the game. But that can also be to the detriment, right? If you've got that high level of emotion for the first 20 minutes, you're fucked after 20.
Yeah, and I think that's what Kieran does. He's obviously had a lot of experience through Benetton, so he knows the sort of Italian culture and the way things are sort of done. So, like I said, he doesn't sort of dance around the emotion bit a lot. He gets right down to the point, and I think that's really important in this Italian side. He's obviously got Marius Goosen, who's also very experienced in the Italian system, and then Andrea Moretti, who's our forwards coach, who's been awesome and a real breath of fresh air. And then you've got Neil Barnes, who's also helping behind the scenes, who's come from New Zealand, and technically very, very smart guy who's helping us loads too. So a really good system up top, which is filtering through to the players. And it's just like I said, I touched on it earlier. It's just it's a great environment to be in. It's a breath of fresh air to be in this camp, and that filters from the staff right down to the players. And it's a good place to be, Jim. Really good place.
Yeah, it looks really good. Just some other stuff then around the makeup of the squad, like Canoni, love him at 8. I didn't realise he was 22. He looks like Jake Paul, doesn't he? He looks a bit like Jake Paul, does he?
Yeah, well, the brother looks like Jake Paul. That's Nick Canone in the road.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
No, he's losing his hair, so he's going through a dark place. But
really?
Hopefully he doesn't watch this.
Yeah.
Me and Pelledri were giving him shit today at training, saying because he straps his head every time, and I was saying every time you strap your head, you're losing more hair. So.
Gosh.
He's struggling.
Hey, we can help him out if he needs. I know a man.
You touched on it, Jim. There's some really good youngsters coming through. I mean, Lorenzo Canone at 8 has been a revelation this year, and other guys that are in the team. Obviously, Capuzzo and a lot of other top quality players. Minancello. There's a lot of young guys that are performing really well, and that's awesome to see. So if we can get that balance right between young guys coming through and the experienced heads leading by example, I think that's really important.
You mentioned Capuzzo then, and everyone keeps getting stuck into me for saying it. How do you say it properly? Ange Capuzzo, but that isn't how you say it, is it? Or do you know how you say it? Capuzzo.
I might be wrong myself, Jim. I just call him Ange.
We'll call him Ange. What a player. Is he as good as we all think and we all make out? He's just taken to it, like as in the international stage, but everything that goes with it, right? The glitz and the glamour. And I think it's really important that someone in Italian rugby does that. We've seen Dupont doing it for France.
Yeah.
The island players are a little bit kind of low-key, but collectively they do it. Maro Itoje, Marcus Smith has done a little bit of that for England. Finn Russell for Scotland. Ange Capuzzo seems to be flying the flag for Italian rugby from a profile point of view, because it's what everyone's thinking about before. How is he with that, and what's he like as a fella around these big external factors?
First of all, he's an awesome player. He's got that X factor that can change a game, as we've all sort of witnessed. But quiet guy off the field, very sort of relaxed, just in his room playing a bit of FIFA, or sticks to himself, doesn't say too much. Very quiet, but just a really good person off the field, which is awesome to see. And obviously he's got a huge profile now. You walk around Rome, or just the other day we were doing a session in the park. We walked through the park, and all these people are coming up to him asking for pics, and me and Barney are like, cheers.
It's because you strap your head up, they don't recognise you, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think it's awesome, and it makes it better that he's a top bloke off the field. He's very humble and gets on with it. And yeah, like I said, just quiet, and a guy that, you know, we're very lucky to have, and can change a game, and that's always special to have.
Yeah, and the media team allowing him, are they pushing him? Are they trying to protect him, or do they understand the value of having a superstar like that in your team?
No, I think they're a bit of both. I think, obviously he gets a lot of media attention, and they sort of protect him. You know, you got to keep him focused on the game and on what he can control, which is awesome. But yeah, I think it's also good that he sheds a really positive and bright light on Italian rugby, which is a good thing.
Mm. One of the other high-profile players I wanted to ask about, I don't know whether you can say or what the situation is with Digby Ione, but he's been carving up for you lads, and then I know that he's gone home for family reasons, but then he was back for a little bit in the Autumn Nation series. Is he going to be in and about? Do we know what's happening, or is it all a bit unknown at the minute?
Yeah, so he's I'm sure he'll be back at some stage, but not during the Six Nations. I think he's with the Melbourne Rebels, so they don't have a window where he can come back. But yeah, I think he obviously took a bit of time out to spend with his family, which helped him a lot. Obviously, he had his own personal reasons for that. I don't want to go into that, but he came back in November, refreshed. I saw a guy that was really positive, hungry to play for Italy, good off the field, was in a really good headspace. And when you have Monty like that, in a really good headspace and positive and playing well, there's very few wingers that are better than him. So it was really good to have him back in the autumn. I'm sure he'll be back with us in the future. But yeah, his focus now is on the Rebels, and I'm sure he'll be back with us soon.
I just called him Digby, his brother, didn't I?
Yeah, his cousin. Yeah, his uncle. I'm so confused with him and Digby. I don't know what the situation is there.
Well, I've commentated on him loads. I shouldn't be calling him Digby. Tim, you'll have to edit that in. I'll have to redo the question. Is there any... So I'll just re-ask this question. Sergio Parisse, has he been knocking about camp? Is he done now, or is he waiting for his moment when Italy are in a Grand Slam decider, or they're in a World Cup quarter-final game? Is he done? Has he got the opportunity, do you think, to have one last swan song? It's kind of like, I know he's hung up his boots, but has he definitely hung up his boots? Has he been around camp? He's a legend, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. First and foremost, Jim, absolute legend. I was super lucky to have played with him. But to answer your question honestly, I have no idea. He hasn't been spoken about. He hasn't been in camp. And that's all I can really say. It's
did he announce it or not? Did he announce his retirement?
He announced that he's going to retire from rugby at the end of the year, I think. But nothing's been said to us, or I didn't even know that until someone else told me the other day. I think someone just sent a link to me, and I opened it and it said he was retiring. But nothing's been said to us. He hasn't been in touch with any of the boys recently, so I can't say anything more than that, to be honest.
It's the old romantic in me.
If I did, I would say.
I know, it would be nice. I can't see it happening, but the old romantic in me would have loved that. Imagine him coming back in just for one last hurrah, because he is like that gladiatorial kind of beacon, isn't he?
He's a big figure for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Seb, just a little bit on yourself then, because it's quite a topical subject this at the minute, especially with Duhan van der Merwe carving up for Scotland at the weekend, like he has done every time he's played.
Yeah.
Your accent South African, I imagine Seb Negri, you've not just changed that just because you're playing for Italy. There's an Italian influence, but what's your backstory? Because you grew up in South Africa, Italian parents. What's the makeup? I say that because of Duhan and with Sione Tuipulotu, who we had on the rugby pod this week, and I think there has been a shift of people understanding that rugby is this international game. There's different influences, different flavours, different backstories for how people come to play for one nation or another. What's your story? Yeah,
well, Jim, we touched on it a little bit with Rugby Pass in the documentary that we did. I've obviously had a little bit of a different journey coming to this side of the world. Born in Zimbabwe. Had a great upbringing on a farm with 2 older brothers, 1 younger sister, family of 6. Open spaces, loved sport, cricket, rugby, football. Anything that I could do. I got both hands onto it and just really enjoyed it. So I had a really good upbringing, and obviously the life for my family changed as it did for a lot of Zimbabweans when we were forcefully removed from our farm. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was obviously a scary moment for myself and for my family. I was obviously very young, but sort of just remember escaping from home, I guess. Dad coming into the living room, saying that there'd been gunshots on the farm and that, we had to, he said, Seb, go into your room, pack a bag, small bag. So I went into my room, packed a little bag. He just said, we're going to go away for a few days. So in the back of my mind, I didn't really know what was going on, but I knew it wasn't good. Went into my room, got my cricket bat, rugby ball, packed a few things and went back into the living room. Got with my dad and then said, get in the car. Lights all turned off in the car, heard gunshots. They'd come onto our farm and they'd basically told my dad he had 12 hours to get off the farm, and otherwise, there was going to be killings and all sorts. So, when you put in that position, it was obviously very difficult. I remember just as a young boy, just a memory of looking out the back of my window and never seeing home again. I remember my mum going onto the farm the next day, being held hostage, the Italian embassy getting involved. So, like I've touched on in the past, obviously everyone goes through their own battles, Jim. I think, it's everyone has their uphill battles, everyone has their own story. But I think it's how you bounce back, how you sort of carry on with your life in the most positive way possible. And that's why, to me, my parents are huge role models for me, because, when we were faced with all of that, they remained positive. They got us into the best schools in South Africa. I'm extremely lucky, and us as a family grew from that. We a very, very close family, and I'm extremely lucky for that. And obviously, when we went through all of this, the Italian family, the Italian heritage was all there for us. They helped us a lot financially. They were there for us. They made sure everything was okay, that if we needed any help, the family would be there. So that makes it emotional, and I think a little bit, I guess when I put on the Italian jersey, I'm not only representing myself and my immediate family and my close friends, but I'm representing, the wider family in Italy, and I think that adds something, and I'm extremely proud of that. And if I can make them proud every time I put on the jersey and represent them, then I'm doing something pretty good. So, like I said, I'm very lucky for a lot of things. Obviously, I've had a little bit of a different journey up to this point, but I'm extremely grateful for all the opportunities Italy have given me, and how many people that were here for us when we went through our battle. Every time I put on the Italian jersey, it's something special, because I'm representing those people too.
Yeah, mate, thanks for sharing that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, not that I've got millions of listeners, but not far away, hopefully one day, and this story will go through the archives. But you said everyone's got a story, right? Not everyone's got a story like that. That's an incredible backstory.
Just what I meant by that is, I think everyone has a difficult time in life. I think everyone goes through something tough, whether it's huge or whether it's just a small thing. But I think it's important how you sort of face that, and that, at the end of the day, everything's going to be okay. You got to, keep the people that you love close to you. I think, before rugby and before any of that, I think family and your close friends are the number one priority, and anything after that's just a bonus. And I sort of keep that mentality. Obviously, I'm very grateful and lucky to do what I do, and that I get to play rugby and to make those people proud. So if I can do that, then I'm achieving my goal.
Oh, you certainly are, mate. Let's talk about Hartpury, because you were there for a little bit, and that's turned into a bit of a feeder for top-class rugby players. To go through the archives, Genji, who you're up against at the weekend, Lewis Rees-Zammit of Wales, Jack Cuthbert, Ben Morgan, Johnny May, Henry Trinder. I'm going to miss a load of other lads out because there's so many have come through Hartpury. What is it about Hartpury College that produce so many international rugby players? Do we know the formula yet? Do we know what it is?
Well, I think from my experience, it's basically a professional system where you can do everything that you can to achieve your rugby goals by obtaining a degree too. I think that's a really important balance, and I think that helped me hugely going to Hartpury, knowing that if rugby didn't work out, that I could fall back onto my studies. So they gave me that opportunity, which is massive, not only for aspiring rugby players, but for anyone. I think you've got to have a backup plan. I think injuries are part of the game, and not everybody makes it to the top. So I think it's really important that you get something behind you that you study. That balance that Hartpury offered was the best decision I ever made. Met some great people, played with some amazing players. I just remember even in my final game for Hartpury, playing with Harry Randall at 9, just unbelievable. Morgan Morris, who's another one that's coming through the ranks now at Ospreys, not far from a Wales call-up, I think. Another top player, and many, many more that have obviously graced Hartpury. So an amazing system. I think they get it spot on between your studies and being almost in a professional system. The analysis you do, the strength and conditioning work, everything's just built into being an awesome program, and the balance is there, which is really good. And I think they also allow you to be a human being, so you can enjoy a few beers on a Wednesday or after a game on a Saturday. So I had that whole experience of being a student, but also sort of being a professional and also getting a degree too. So it was all inclusive, and extremely lucky that I made that decision, and looking back, the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, I've heard a few stories about it being all-inclusive, but that was some of the young Gloucester lads when I was there for a few years.
There are a few stories.
I'm sure there is. Was Genji there? Was Ellis Genge there when you were...
I think he had just left. He had done like the college bit, so he had just left. I remember actually, I think, who else? Obviously, I played a lot with the university team, and then on a Saturday, so I played with obviously Pelledri, and I remember Ludlow was there. So a lot of players. It was an awesome system, and the amount of players that they've produced is just incredible, and it's I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, tough players though. You think about some of the players that have come through, apart from Ben Morgan, who, when he's out of contract like he is now, he's extremely tough because he's an absolute monster. But just produce some really tough players like Lewis Ludlow, for example. I'd have him in the England team.
He's an absolute
he should be starting at
warrior.
6.
Yeah, he's an absolute warrior, and such a fierce competitor, and then off the field, such a good bloke. So, another awesome player that Hartpury have produced.
Yeah, absolutely. England at the weekend. Realistic expectations. Do you speak about that before? I'm trying to take my mind back to being in camp. I can't remember where you say, right, we should be winning this, or it is just all about performance. Do you have a realistic goal within the teams and say, right, it's all about getting this right, and then that will make the performance right, and that will give us an opportunity to win, right? That is what is said.
100%. Yeah, I think we got to think about our processes first, and stick to what we're doing because it's working. But yeah, Jim, I'll be lying to you if I said we're just going to go there and make up the numbers and put in a good shift, because I think we're a lot more ambitious in this group. I think we've got a belief in this group. We work hard for each other. We train hard. We're going through our processes every day. And I think there's a little bit of belief here. So be lying to you if I just said, we want to go there and put in a good performance and just, make up the numbers. It's not the case. I think we're going there to, first of all, go through our processes, put in a good performance, and like Kieran says, give it shit, and whatever happens, happens.
How much do you look at analysis? And again, this might sound a ridiculous for some people to hear, because some players or some teams won't look at much, they'll concentrate on themselves. How much do you personally, how much do the team look at the combinations of the England back row, the forward pack, the tactics, etc.? can you be overloaded too much with that? What's your style and the
No,
team
we
style?
we go into a lot of depth, Jim, about what they're going to bring. Obviously, ideas and plays that maybe can exploit them. Maybe watch the Scotland game a couple of times over. See areas where we think we can target them where they might be a little bit vulnerable. Obviously, being in the line out, for sure, we're going to do a lot of our analysis. We've already done a lot of our analysis, looked at options where we think that we can take good ball, and then look at their different combinations, because obviously they've got a lot of different combinations in the back row which can maybe affect who will be in their 5-man line out or their 4-man line out. So I think we'll do a large analysis and then be a bit more specific when they name their team and tweak a few things. But I think a lot of the focus is on us, but we definitely go into depth a lot.
As a sideshow, and a man who I know loves Scotland and ex-Scotland players and Scotland players as a whole, what do you make of Scotland's performance of the week? I know it's completely irrelevant, but I'm just... we've got a live show in Edinburgh tonight, just so I can share to the masses that we're not blind by how well we played. It was some performance by Scotland, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't a shock to me, to be honest, Jim. I look at that whole Scotland team. Yeah, I think it's one of the better teams in the competition. I think they've got strengths all over the field. I look at their back row, one of the best back rows in the competition. And I've played it. I play against these players week in, week out against Edinburgh, Glasgow. So I know they're top players. So it wasn't really a big shock for me. I expect them to do well. And I thought they put in a really good performance. I thought their forwards were immense physically, which you got to be against England. I think between the back row, they had 60, 70 tackles between them. So, massive effort from them. And then that Duan van der Merwe's try was just ridiculous. And I know how hard that guy is to tackle, because I've played against him a few times, and he's hard. He's a hard man, big boy, and when you're fast and explosive like that, it just makes it a lot harder. So I think I called it actually in the room, because I was watching it with Varney, Pelledri, and Tommy, and we were just like, that might be the try of not only the Six Nations but possibly the year. So it doesn't really surprise me that they've got off to a good start, Jim. I think they're a really good team, strengths all over the field, and it's good to see Scotland doing well. I think it's they've got a really good side, so I'm excited to play against them too in Edinburgh.
Who knows? It could be the Six Nations decider. It could be.
Exactly.
Imagine the change
1 and
of
2.
guard.
Imagine that Italy 1 and 2 with Scotland.
Hey, that means we'll have to put Wales into the tier 2. Or England, maybe even England. And lastly, Seb, before you go, mate, have you got anything funny up your sleeve that you can share? Remember that rucking stuff that you lads did a few years ago? It was hilarious. No one knew. Like, the pundits didn't know, the players didn't know. You're not going to share it, are you?
I'm not going to
just say maybe. Just say maybe.
I'm not going to give too much away, but let's see what happens on Sunday. Let's see what happens. We might have 1 or 2 tricks to show.
Brilliant. Well, I'm looking forward to watching you, mate, and I really appreciate you taking half an hour or so out of your day, because you've got a big game at the weekend. You've just had a massive game against France, and I know it's all business at the minute, so I appreciate that.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure, mate. Anytime.